The first weekend of the CDL is in the books, and I'll be honest, it was an interesting one. There was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad, and kind of everything in between. One of the biggest positives was the viewership. Now the CDL returned to Twitch, which obviously was going to be huge, but people didn't really know how much it would affect the overall viewership going from YouTube to Twitch. And as you can see right now, the opening weekend was the 4th highest in the CDL era. It peaked at 192,000. As you can see, the top 5 all time, you have Modern Warfare 2019 champs, Vanguard champs, that's 331,000, 275,000, Cold War champs, 238,000, Modern Warfare 2 Major 1 qualifiers, it says 195K. And then you have the first major in Vanguard peaked at 157,000. So the fact is, this was big. Now there obviously were drops. It's the opening weekend, you know, it's when COD is most hyped, but I think there's a lot of potential here with moving to Twitch. I mean, Twitch is just, it's the platform that you want to be on for any game, for any esport. Ideally, was it hurting the CDL? Yeah, but there were obviously other things that go into that with just the game in general. But regardless, it's great to be back on Twitch. So that was a positive. And there were a lot of surprises in the matches themselves. As you can see, these are the official standings after the first weekend. You have Minnesota Rokkr, Boston Breach, and London Royal Ravens. 3 teams that most of you probably would not have here in the top 3. They are the 3 undefeated teams. Now we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Rokkr in a second. But then for the teams that haven't won a series, this is also, well, it might be a little shocking. You have the NYSL, New York Subliners, Vegas Legion, and Seattle Surge all sitting at 0-2. You probably were predicting the Legion to be there because it doesn't matter that they changed their city, they're still the Legion. Now they do have a better team this season than they have in the past. But at this point, it's like if you're a betting man, you're betting against Vegas because they haven't won a series in, I believe, 221 days. They practically just haven't won a series since I was still competing in Call of Duty, and that's not a good sign. But the biggest thing that happened this weekend, you guys probably saw it. It was the first time, it might be the first time I've ever seen, or the first time in Call of Duty in general, or at least in the CDL, that a team forfeited. There was this whole debacle in map 3 of the Minnesota versus OpTic series. Now the series was tied 1-1, but more importantly, it was 2-2. It was round 5 in the swing map. Okay, so this map was very important for both teams. I'm gonna need you guys to just focus on the mini map here. So Scump obviously went big and he got 2-piece, right? Scump, by the way, was absolutely frying all weekend. He is in his last season. This is his last dance, and he put up insane stats in both series. So he gets a 2-piece. They have 1 3/4 of a tick. They're about to get the second tick with 38 seconds left in the game. Now, they have complete control. You have number 7 who's banned on the flank in their top building. And then you have 2 players coming off spawn and then Cammy number 8 right here. So supposedly, I don't know exactly at what time, Cammy tries to call in his streak. He ends up getting a glitch because he calls in the SAE. Now the SAE is a GH streak, okay? The pros banned it because of the fact that I think it was too good, but there are also issues with it. One of the issues being when you call it in, you can't do anything. You like pull the iPad out, it freezes, and you can't move, blah, 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 for, you know, 30 seconds or something like that. Something absurd. But you can't unequip that streak. So even if you don't have that streak, the SAE equipped, when you're in the CDL lobby, in the CDL match, it still is there for every player. Supposedly, that's what every pro has been saying, like you can't unequip it. Cammy is trying to call in his fighter pilot right here. I believe it's right here. I don't know exactly when. Because he was moving around right before this. So I'm assuming it's right about at this 38-second mark left. And like he's moving, I think he's calling it in as Scump is calling in his streak. But he gets glitched. Now he's in this top window. Okay, they just got 2 ticks. They have 3 or 2 players on the B point. So they're capping it relatively quickly. But Cammy gets stuck in this fucking streak. He can't do anything. OpTic ends up winning shortly after. Right after Scum's streak hits the ground, they win the game. Now you could see Cammy under me. He's mind blown. He's like, yo, I don't know what I was supposed to do. I stuck in a streak, bro. They're all like, what? Like, and I'll rewind it. Like I said, right here, when he stops moving, is when he tried to call a streak in. So the whole thing was he brought it up to the league. And so here's what Cammy had to say about the issue.
So way for you, which is obviously what had happened to me. The situation itself was, I think we were in a pretty good spot as a team, to be honest. Scum was the only player pushed up on their team. He got a two-piece at this point. So the only possible play for me to do was, obviously I have a streak, is the first thing I'd seen when he popped the two-piece was I need to run our back plat and streak the point so it gives us more time. And that's what I went to go do. And as I'm wrapping back plat, like obviously I know that like to switch your streaks, you have to hold down your button key to change your streak to your precision. I'm holding it down, nothing's happening, I press it again, and then it pulls out the SAE. I simply just, obviously then I'm officially stuck. I can't get out of it. I can't throw a stun, I can't use my gun, I can't move down to the point to even possibly make a play. I just think it's like a pretty shit situation. Like I feel like for people to say it's 100% a guarantee win is quite annoying. Put on my streak.
And right there, I do have to agree with Cammy. Now, was it 100% that OpTic was going to win that round and the game? No. Was it most likely that they were going to do it? Yes. I would say it was like 85 to 90% in favor of OpTic. Now, yes, Cammy had the fighter pilot. We know how good that streak is, especially on an open point like B on El Asilo, and as well as if he won a 1v1 out the window. Now that's all what ifs, but it's simply just, you can't say OpTic was gonna win 100%. So I understand where he's coming from with that.
Put on my streak, I've got stuck, 10 seconds, the game ends.
So Cammy says 10 seconds. I don't know if it was 10 seconds necessarily, it might've been a little bit less. Obviously in the heat of the moment, you don't have all the facts. You know, you don't necessarily know exactly how it went down, which these guys put this interview up pretty quickly, both sides, OpTic and Minnesota.
I'm super frustrated with what's happened. Obviously, just complete single player in the league is going to be frustrated, where there's a lot of frustration. Like, it was kind of down to the league to make a decision on what was going to happen.
And so Cammy said that they didn't force the issue here. They just brought it up. Cammy just brought up to the league, the ref, whoever they need to bring it up to. Like, hey, at the end of the game, I got stuck in the GA streak. Now, in the CDL's eyes, the SAE is not banned, by the way. It's not illegal to use because it is a GA streak. The pros decided to ban that, not the league itself. But he basically says, I got a game glitch. There was nothing I could do, okay? It was at the end of the game. There was a chance that we could have still won it. It wasn't out of reach, blah, blah, blah. That's what he said. And basically what happened is the league, they favored Minnesota Rokkr and they wanted a full replay, I believe. Not just the last round, but a full replay. Now, some of the players on OpTic were obviously very pissed about that. You could see this was in real time. Dashy tweeted, haha, Minnesota took doing whatever it takes to another level. Crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji. Actually shameless. And then his second tweet is, I don't know what I'm more pissed about, Minnesota being fucking weirdos about the situation or the league actually buying that fucking BS from that camp. So he thinks it's completely false. He thinks whatever that they said was completely wrong. They had the game won 100%, which, like I said, I would have favored OpTic, okay? Completely unbiased. I would have said OpTic is going to win that game. It was not 100% though. Then he's obviously responding to Hitch, and then he responds to Minnesota's coach, where Saint tweeted, Cam got stuck in his score streak for the last 15 seconds of the map, which Cammy said it was 10. I don't know. It's probably somewhere around the 5 to 10 range. And his character couldn't move or call in his streak, laughing my ass off. And Dashy responds, 15 seconds. How fucking stoned are you for these matches, brother? And then last but not least, he tweets cowards. And then it's this meme, we're losing, pull out this streak, bruv. And obviously, Cammy and Bance are both European, so bruv, you know, whatever. So the league decides then we're gonna do a full replay, but OpTic is not about it. And in fact, they decided that they don't want to replay, but let alone that, they don't even want to finish the series out, okay? They decided they were going to forfeit the rest of the series. Now, this was going to be a 1-1 series still with a replay of map 3. There was a great chance that they still would have won this series. And here is the general manager of the CDL's tweet. He tweeted, "Wish the Rokkr OpTic match hadn't ended in a forfeit. I know some people will agree, some people disagree with the replay round call made. We needed to apply league rules, but no one wants to see a matchup get to where it did. Sucks for everyone." And then Aches made a good point, because this happened to LAT last year in Vanguard in one of their series where they were down 5-4 in the S&D. As you can see, Envoy got like a pistol glitch where he climbed up the ladder, he couldn't use his gun. Basically, LAT was in a situation where there was a great chance that they could have won that round and forced it to a round 11, but it wasn't 100%. They didn't ask for a replay. There was no replay given where it was a game-breaking bug, okay? It was something that Envoy didn't do, didn't cause. It was in the game, but they didn't get a replay. So Aches is basically saying, why would Minnesota Rokkr get a replay? You know, were the rules changed or what's going on here? I personally don't understand that, because I agree with Aches. There has to be certain situations where you can make the correct call, because every situation is different when we're talking about Call of Duty. But this is one where it's hard. It's hard because you have to make the call itself, but you have to stay consistent. And like I said 5 months ago, or like Aches said 5 months ago, LAT didn't get this replay, so why change it now? You know, it's basically a very similar situation, but that's besides the point. And Scump even got in on the Bluebird action. "First match I forfeited in my career, great start." You have Symphony and some other big name people responding. It just doesn't look good for the league. And I completely understand OpTic's position here. It was the principle of what happened. Because while I understand it, while I understand their frustration and why they decided to forfeit the rest of the series, I don't think it was a good move. Now, if I was involved in, heat of the moment, I maybe would have done the same thing, but you have to look at it realistically. If you forfeit, it doesn't really change anything. Maybe for PR wise, you might have more people on your side and obviously the OpTic fans, but you're going to get the L. It's not like you're not going to play your next match and all future matches, which they did. They played Florida Mutineers and they absolutely bodied them, but that's besides the point. So all you're doing is giving yourself a free loss. Whereas if you were to full replay that map in that series, there's a very good chance that they still win the series. So they could have went 2-0 and you could talk all your shit on Twitter, on social media like they did anyways, but be undefeated, because there's only 4 matches in the qualifier before the first event. So it is important to get as many wins as you can. You don't want to lose any series, let alone give a free win to another team, which is what they did. So I don't agree with it in terms of their success, but I understand why they did it and I understand their frustrations. But it doesn't stop there, because after their next match against Florida Mutineers, OpTic decided to decline the interview. Now, after every series, you guys watch the CDL, watch Call of Duty, you know that they do a winning team interview. They pick a player, they talk about the series, what went right, what can they work on, blah, blah, blah. OpTic declined to do the interview, and then they did their own interview. OpTic Gaming tweeted it out and they put it on their website. They're really staying strong, okay? They're staying 10 toes down. They're really trying to stick it to the league. And like I said, I understand their frustration. Was it the best move that they could have made? No. They could have just won that series and then did all this, but they're still making a point. And it'll be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the year. Like, is OpTic just going to decline every interview from here on out? Or was, this just a one-time thing, just to, just that little extra cherry on top with the whole situation? Who knows? But it was a wild opening weekend for the CDL. We might have a new rivalry. It might be Minnesota versus OpTic. That might be the new hottest rivalry on the block. And if you guys want me to do more videos like this, where it's just kind of laid back and I just kind of give you my thoughts on what's going on, let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate the love as always, man. I'm gonna see y'all when I see y'all.